So
Yeah.
it's
Well, you can see those other cables that were down there, though.
they're loose. They're just
well, not just loose, but
they're deteriorated.
They're deteriorated too.
Wasn't the right material.
These are what they call EIPS, IWRC, Internal Wire Rope Center cable, galvanized all the way through. So they'll hold up as good as anything.
John Hazelbaker of Hammerhead Marine Services was asked to supply an assessment for stabilizing the two several-ton satellite dishes that were hanging from the sides of the Vandenberg since she was sunk. On the first survey, we would try to locate areas on the ship that we could secure the cable and chain that would be needed to hold all that weight. It became quite clear right away that both dishes had to be secured through their center openings since all their weight originated from that point. The most cost-efficient way to do this was to use cable cinches or chokers with heavy chain, turnbuckles, shackles, and pry bars. Oh yeah, and of course a lot of volunteers.
We're tied up to mooring buoy number 5, so which puts the boat, by the way the current's running, right over number 4. So we're very close to over the small dish. What we're going to do first is I've got this 3/4 inch line, 150, 200 feet of it. I'm going to take this down and tie it to the center of that hub. When I get down there, you give me about 5-6 minutes, kind of tend my line loosely like you would a diver's umbilical or something. And when I get it tied off, I will give you 4 sharp pulls. I'll give you 4 sharp pulls, and then I'll repeat them. I'll repeat 4 sharp pulls. After you get those, pull all the slack out of the line and tie it onto our stern cleat. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we're going to hook a traveling line around this support beam, and then we'll loop that around our down line with the appropriate rigging and a lift bag on it, and then we're going to dump it overboard. Now dump it overboard. That line attached to it will be around our down line, and it will slide down. What I'll probably do is put a safety line on it to stop it about 10 feet underwater, and then I'll inflate the lift bag and we'll take it down slow. All right, go.
Once the H-beam was in the water and the lift bag attached to it, it made moving around that 225-pound piece of steel look easy. That is, until the current hit it. Not only were we fighting a slight current, but the deeper we went, the more compressed the lift bag became and it lost its buoyancy. Captain John had to constantly add more air to the bag to get it up and over the top of the dish. Maneuvering this thing over and around a satellite dish and placing it directly in the center of a circle seemed more of a job for a hot air balloon pilot trying to land his basket full of people on an X on the ground with a heavy wind blowing. But with John's many years of commercial salvage under his belt, he almost made it look easy. Now that the H-beam was securely attached to the ring with heavy clamps, we could now bring down the cables, chains, and turnbuckles.
So that's the plan. Rig the down line, send down the rigging, and then all go down together. Yeah, I'm going off the port now. And I think that's going to give you the most direct shot. And if it looks like that line is going to rub against the dish, just go ahead and tie it to the top of the dish.
The line was tied from our boat down to the rail of the Vandenberg. A heavy chain with a partially inflated lift bag was then tied to the down line, and that was thrown overboard. Once we had our gear line established, the rest of the cables and turnbuckles soon followed. Now, all we had to do was pick up and carry a few hundred pounds of iron and steel over to the satellite dish. These are the times I remember why I became a photographer. John threaded one end of the chain with rope and dropped it through the opening. He then swam around to the underside of the dish to pull the chain through. He and Randy then pulled the chain through to the deck. Now, with all the equipment in place, we could start tying the whole thing together. The chain was shackled to the cable, which in turn led to a turnbuckle that was shackled to more chain on the main deck. The shackles were tightened along with all of the turnbuckles. The shackle pins were then wired tight to prevent any chance of loosening. One more side to go, and the smaller of the two satellite dishes would be secured. The same method would be employed on the other side so that the dish would be prevented from moving back and forth as well as falling down.